Welcome to Central News for Wednesday, the 10th of July. I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, a memorandum of understanding between the Tauranga City Council and Mowal Trust will see joint management of the Mowal. 4 representatives from Tauranga City Council and the Mowal Trust will form the joint board that will meet once legislation is put in place and the representatives have been appointed. The MOU has been more than a year in the making after Council supported the establishment of a joint administering body in March 2012. Mowal Trust spokesperson Te Awanui Black says the Memorandum of Understanding will allow the partnership of Tauranga City Council and Tauranga Moana Iwi and community to preserve, develop and promote one of the country's greatest icons.
The Memorandum of Understanding is essentially the agreement, if you like, between the Trust and the City Council, which sets out the relationship. Sets out the relationship and who's going to do what and who's going to pay for what and who make the decisions about these sorts of things.
Now, for our region's weather, Hamilton, your Thursday will be mostly fine. There is a possibility, though, of a shower and light winds. Your expected high is 12 and an overnight low of 5. Tauranga, a few showers for you and a southeasterly. Your expected high is 13 and an overnight low of 7. Just ahead, changes to the smart growth strategy. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. The Western Bay of Plenty Smart Growth Strategy recently had a submission period. Last week, we discussed with the Independent Chair, Bill Waisley, what changes will be made from the submissions. Tonight is part 2 of that interview, where we discuss the ageing population and the relationship with central government that smart growth will have. So what will the main focus be on now for the strategy?
Certainly in the immediate future, once strategy adoption occurs at the end of August of this year, 2 key projects. One is a demographic projection project, which is looking at the demographics based on the recent census, given that we haven't had a census since 2006. So it's actually understanding the makeup of the population. And obviously the numbers and what the amount of migration and growth has been in the area. Once that work's completed, we'll then undertake a review of the actual settlement pattern, which is the urban growth areas that are part of the spatial plan. So it's important to understand what's happening and what the growth is and what the makeup of that growth is prior to undertaking that review. So those are the 2 key projects, and it's hoped to have those completed within the next 2-year period.
How will the strategy look at establishing this Marine Centre of Excellence?
Well, essentially the basis of that's already established because there is a partnership arrangement between the University of Waikato and the University of Bremen in Germany. And that's been in place probably around about 4 years. And that's given rise to the establishment of a coastal marine research station at Sulphur Point on Tauranga Harbour. And that has grown quite significantly. One of the matters in terms of how smart growth can support that is through advocacy and in terms of its future development. It can also support any of the infrastructure that may be needed for that, and certainly the development of the CB campus will further support that centre of excellence.
What will the smart growth strategy do to address the implications of an ageing population?
Number of ways. It's actually about promoting and advocating for work around universal design of housing so that a range of people of all ages can occupy that. Also undertaking further work around lifelong learning and providing the opportunities for people as they age, to also learn and connect with education in its various forms, and supporting the age-friendly strategy that the Tauranga City Council is currently developing, and also recognising in terms of the design of infrastructure, footpaths, that type of thing, the ability for that to cater for that ageing population.
And how will the strategy look at trying to strengthen that relationship with the central government?
That's quite a pivotal relationship. In the past, we've had quite effective relationships with senior ministers, regardless of what government's in power. We want to take that a step further and promote the establishment of a Waikato Bay of Plenty Policy Office, similar to the Auckland Policy Office initiative, where a number of government departments have representation in the Waikato Bay of Plenty regions. So it is to strengthen that regular contact and collaboration, and hopefully those types of initiatives will also assist in the development of co-investment opportunities between government and the sub-region. So those are regarded as some quite key initiatives to strengthen that connection with government.
Have central government always been supportive of the smart growth strategy?
Yeah, certainly the experience to date indicates that very strong support, and certainly when we look at what we have achieved in terms of the provision of roading infrastructure in the sub-region, a lot of that has been contingent on convincing government of the need to invest. They have responded very positively to that, so there's been the significant investment of many hundreds of millions over the last 5 to 7 years. So I think that's a very good example of that commitment and desire to actually be involved and support the local initiatives. It is about having our local ducks lined up, being very clear on the direction we want to head. Also, that often involves understanding what our local funding arrangements and contributions are, and then seeking that government input and support.
So what happens from now?
Happens from here. Currently we're about to commence deliberations and the committee to consider all the submissions that have been heard. All going well, we hope to have the strategy adopted by the end of August, and which includes the implementation plan, and then moving into implementation and then that initial focus on undertaking the demographic projection work and review of the settlement pattern.
If you would like to learn more about the Smart Growth Strategy, you can visit their website, smartgrowthbop.org.nz. Coming up next, it is Women's Refuge Awareness Month. Welcome back. One of New Zealand's major social issues is domestic violence. The statistics are shocking. According to a recent study, between 33 to 39% of New Zealand women experience physical or sexual violence from an intimate partner in their lifetime. July is Women's Refuge Awareness Month, and next week is the Appeal Week. Amy Forrest caught up with Women's Refuge.
Welcome to the studio, ladies. Now, Margie, tell me, first of all, what is Women's Refuge Awareness Month all about?
Because there are so many women who are silenced, because of intimidation, violence, and abuse, we come up with, the Awareness Month to emphasize, specifically for this year, about the crisis line services that a lot of women's refuges provide. As one father of a victim said, one call can save a life.
Wow. Okay. So, Angela, tell me about some of the things that will be happening around our region.
Well, this year, Shakti and Tauranga Women's Refuge, we're going to be working really closely together. We have a week planned, and of course the month it is the month, but the week that we're planning to deliver is from the 15th to the 22nd of July. So Tuesday we're going to be hopefully collecting out with our buckets. The site still has not yet been arranged, but we're hoping to be in one of the malls perhaps. On Wednesday, Tauranga Women's Refuge will be at Red Square. We hope to have the roller derby girls there collecting for us, and Shark Day will be collecting out at Mount Maunganui. Thursday we'll be going in with our buckets, shaking and going through all of our government agencies and a lot of our big offices, so that includes the council as well. Friday we will be preparing for our large monster garage sale that Shark Day and Tauranga Women's Refuge will be running on Saturday. So those are the things that we're planning.
Wow, so it sounds like a massive amount of planning that's gone into all of this.
Yes.
So tell me, what are the facts? How many women experience domestic violence in their lifetime?
1 in 3 women New Zealanders, or 1 in 3 New Zealanders, accordingly will experience some form of physical or psychological abuse in their lifetime. So it's huge. Yeah.
So it's affecting so many women in our country. So Angela, can you tell me about the services that you provide at Tauranga Women's Refuge?
So we have a number of services. We run, of course, our Safe House, which provides safety for our women and children who are fleeing from domestic violence. So that's one of our key services. We also have a community social worker who works with those women and children who choose not to come into the Safe House or for whatever reason don't need to come into the Safe House but still need support. We also have a child advocate as well who facilitates our domestic violence programs for children. So we have, as much as possible, a wraparound. We do a lot of referrals outwards to many of our services in the community as well.
And Margie, you are the coordinator of the Shark Day Women's Group. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, our organization provides very similar services that of the mainstream women's refuges, but specifically for Asian, African, Middle Eastern women and children victims of domestic violence.
Now, Margie, you're the coordinator of the Shark Day Women's Group. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Our services are very similar to that of the mainstream women's refuges, but we operate a little bit differently. We work a little bit differently because of the nature of the cases that we work with. Aside from the common forms of abuse, we also deal with cases involving dowry abuse, forced marriage, underage marriage, forced and underage marriage, and also the use of immigration as a tool for power and control. And marital rape is very common in all our cases.
Okay.
And we are absolutely reliant on Shark Day to support these women and children because there are so many different social needs for these women, and we're not the experts.
Okay. Now, what are some of the danger signs that we should look for in a violent relationship?
I guess when we look at domestic violence, we consider it around a concept known as power and control. So power and control can be physical violence, and so obviously a lot of people are aware when they are hit or pushed or slapped or those things that there is something wrong. But we're also looking at a whole pile of control which occurs. So for example, financial abuse, being forced to work or being forced to stay at home, not having access or making the decisions around finances, the intimidation and threats, the constant abuse of and degrading of women and children. So those things just build. So when we have many women who present who've said, but I've only ever been hit once, or I've only ever been pushed, or he's not violent and he's a good father, and those things. And then we start to explore a little bit more, and it talks, and many women talk about a systematic degradation of their rights and being treated in a way that actually makes them feel less.
In in a lot of our ethnic families, especially ethnic women, sometimes they will not recognize that they are in an abusive relationship or somebody's abusing them, because sometimes it has been normalized. So I usually tell them that if you fear, for your life, or if you are scared of your partner, then call.
Absolutely.
Or talk to someone, a neighbor, a friend, co-worker, anybody.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much for coming into studio, and obviously if anyone's needs someone to talk to, then they can get in contact with you, is that right?
Absolutely.
Yep. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you or anyone you know is experiencing any form of domestic violence or emotional domestic abuse, you can confidentially phone 0800 2 Refuge or 07 541 1911. Just ahead, Legacy. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Legacy, the recreational fishing advocates that promote fishing for our future by ensuring there are enough fish in the sea for the next generation, hold workshops around the country where they visit workplaces to discuss these issues. The Snapper One quota is their latest fight against the Ministry of Primary Industries, and I went along to a chat they were having at Page McRae in Mount Maunganui.
So how was Legacy started?
Hilary, Legacy came about as a result of the Sport Fishing Council realising it needed a public outreach brand. It's been working so long and hard on advocating on behalf of its members, and the costs were growing, and it was clear that we needed to spread that cost. So we've created Legacy to bring more awareness into the public realm and give them a simple, straightforward mechanism to put some money on the table. Be heard. Really important.
And what are you guys doing here today?
We were invited by Greg Baber from Page McRae. He met us at the boat show. He came back later on the phone and said, would you come down and talk to the boys? And here we are.
What is happening with the Snapper One quota?
We don't know. The Ministry of Primary Industries have been developing a position paper for quite a long time, like several months. It's been 15 years since they managed the fishery, and suddenly it's urgent to manage snapper recreational catch. Apparently, and it's all speculation, there are not cuts proposed for quota, just management or constraint on the public. Reductions in our bag limits possibly, increases in size limits. We don't know. We should know. Time will be used against us. Suddenly it will be upon us. We'll have 6 short weeks to digest, understand, produce a position, a submission, and then get out and amongst the public and give them an opportunity to understand this truly complex question. Then submissions will close and a decision needs to be made by the 1st of October by the Minister, Nathan Guy. And it's a tough decision. It's a decision that I wouldn't like to have to make. In fact, it's a process that shouldn't be occurring. The Sport Fishing Council put a policy together last year for Snapper One that was really lovely. It simply said, Minister, reassure us that you'll manage snapper to 40% of the virgin stock size without increasing commercial quota, and we will go out into the market with high quality research and we'll consult with the public and come back to you with a raft of measures that you can safely assume the public will embrace voluntarily. You'll need to regulate it because we want to harness this energy that's out there everywhere to conserve fish. We understand the need to leave more fish in the water for future generations because we're growing. Every day our population's going up.
And what has science taught us?
We are now learning how fragile these fisheries are. We are learning that everything is interconnected. Nothing is outside of the loop.
What is the ecosystem debate?
The interconnectedness. We're concerned that as we build these inshore fisheries back to really healthy sizes, 40% is the target, We're deeply concerned that we might find commercial interests harvesting their food, going after the pilchards, putting them in bags and selling them off as bait or whatever. We're very concerned about that. The Gurnard, John Dory and Tereki fisheries have got uncatchable quotas. Far too much quota has been allocated and they cannot go and they can't land that quota. So we've got this silliness of people saying they're targeting John Dory when in fact, as we all know, it's snapper that we catch when we put our net or our hook over the side.
What is that 40% that you're talking about?
B40 is the fish science conversation. It's about an estimate of what the virgin stock size, unfished stock, might look like, and we can afford to take 60% out, leaving 40% there to breed and grow and provide for our commercial and non-commercial interests.
So why is it so important that something is done now?
We're clear that we need a management plan. We need an agreement on how this fishery is to be managed. We want to see it managed to 40. We believe commercial interests are happy to see it managed the way it is. They don't have a particular interest in a big biomass. We, the public, on the other hand, depend upon abundant fisheries. It gives us a good chance to catch a feed. We also know that as our population grows and the fish population grows, everybody has to be very smart about how we behave. We've got to stop killing small fish. If there's one message for the people watching this show, it's about smart and responsible fishing behaviour by all. Going forward, we've got to stop killing the small ones.
And how can people get involved with Legacy?
Legacy.co.nz, and that is Legasea, or Legacy on the Facebook or the 0800, and we're pretty connected now. We're up to speed with our contemporary technologies. $5 a month, that's the challenge. It's a little wee snick off the credit card. Put $5 a month up front. Wow, that's going to make such a difference. Martin Luther King said it better than anyone. It's not the words of our enemies that we will remember, but the silence of our friends. And it's that small contribution that adds real voice to a choir.
If you would like to find out more about Legacy, visit their website legasea.co.nz. That is the news for today. We really want you to be involved. Like us on Facebook, let us know your views. If you have news including your own video and photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. I will be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around our regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.